watching a 1963 film called The Crawling Hand. It was a low-budget American science fiction horror film directed by Herbert L. Strack. It's the story of a young teenager, Paul Lawrence, played by Rod Lauren, who, while at the beach with his girlfriend Marta Farmstrom, finds an arm and a hand of an astronaut who had crashed earlier. As young men do, he takes the hand home, I guess as some sort of a grisly souvenir. But Martha isn't too keen on the idea.
Let me go back for it. I'll lock it in the trunk of the car.
No, I couldn't stand it. Let's go right to the sheriff. This is a murder.
No, not a murder.
A human hand, not a murder.
Listen.
As you might expect, the hand begins to affect Paul in a bad way, making him act crazy and such. He begins to look zombie-ish. He even attacks Marta, his Swedish girlfriend that he plans to marry. This video is about the actress who plays Marta, Sirry Steffen. Sirry wasn't from Sweden, but from Iceland, and her real name is... In respect for the people of Iceland, I will not attempt to pronounce it. As I watched The Crawling Hand, I began to wonder, who is this lady? So I looked into her a little. The first thing I found that at the age of 22, she was Miss Iceland of 1960. She had dark blonde hair, blue eyes, was 5 feet 4.5 inches high, weighed 100 pounds, and her measurements were 34.5, 21, 34. Yes, she's stacked.
What does it mean I'm stacked?
She was able to speak in 7 different languages, including English, Swedish, German, French, and Danish, and that's pretty impressive in my book, especially for a guy like me who has problems with English, his native language. And as I wrote this, I realized I didn't even know what language they speak in Iceland. So I looked it up. They speak Icelandic. Imagine that. She was born on May 19, 1938 in her hometown of Reykjavik. When she was 7, her family moved to Sweden where they lived until she was 16, and then they returned to Iceland. She graduated from grade school in 1958, and in autumn of that year, she enrolled at the University of Iceland, taking philosophy, French, and Swedish. She has 2 sisters, both younger than her. Now, at the time she entered the Miss Iceland contest, she was singing in various bands around Iceland, even appearing on Iceland's Armed Forces radio and television. And from what I've read, she never made a real effort during the Miss Iceland competition, yet she won it anyway. And due to winning, she was committed to travel to Long Beach, California to compete in the first ever Miss International pageant. Miss Iceland mixes beauty and brains. To prove it, she'll converse in several languages. That's why she hopes to be a high school language teacher after receiving her bachelor's degree next year from the University of Iceland. Vivacious and gay, Sirry turns pensive here when she searches the Long Beach area telephone book in vain to see whether anyone in the area has her unusual family surname. Her first honor was being chosen first in speech. For the competition, she wore a native costume. The main competition, from what I've read, had 3 categories: evening gowns, play suits, and national costume/speech. Sirry won play suit. She was also named Miss Photogenic by the press photographers. According to the papers at the time, after being told to smile by the photographers, she told them, "Why don't you fellows ever smile?" "It's never been difficult for me to pose," she said. "I haven't had a lesson in my life, but I love it, and I've been posing since I was 6 years old." "I love to be a doctor," Sirry said, "but it takes so long, at least 8 years, and then I'd be in my 30s. That's why so few girls study medicine or law in Iceland." She was one of 15 finalists for Miss International. And the winner is... Miss Columbia, a 21-year-old named Stella Marquez. Sirry placed 3rd, the second runner-up. According to this article, she was the favorite to win, but her chances may have been hurt when she had a lapse in memory when it came to her brief speech. She retained her poise, but admitted that she couldn't think of what to say, the papers said. Soon after, she went on a 3-month singing trip to Manila, Japan, and Hong Kong. As a result, she was offered countless opportunities for modeling and related projects. Miss Iceland, who said she was overjoyed at being one of the finalists, disclosed that she has plans to remain in Hollywood and try for a movie career. "I've already taken out immigration papers," she said. It wasn't long before she Americanized her name and became Sirry Steffen. She appeared on TV in a detective series called Michael Shane, starring Richard Dennings. She played a beauty contestant in an episode called Death Selects a Winner. She has no lines, and here's her quick appearance. Yeah, that wasn't much of a part, but on the bright side, she was named Queen of the 1962 Southern California Boat Show. So she stayed in the US to be an actor, but her career never really took off. She played a French girl in a restaurant in a TV show called The Tom Ewell Show, and then she was cast in a Universal film called Hitler with Richard Basehart playing the title role of Adolf. She played Anna the nurse, and her name was even in the opening credits.
Anna, the patient's gone?
Yes, sir, doctor. But they were quite upset. Why can't he make appointments like any normal person?
That led to 3 episodes of the Beverly Hillbillies in which she played Marie, the maid to the Drysdales. It was during the first season, and I'm not sure if the character was originally going to be a reoccurring character or if the 3 shows were all that were planned. I can say that I don't think the black hair suits her.
No, please. I only came in to bring you a message from Miss Hathaway.
Marie, tell me I'm hearing things.
You're hearing things, sir. Cows, chickens, pigs, goats.
No.
Who don't?
We don't. What's going on? There's a feud going on.
Well, there was a knock. I opened the door, and Jethro just swept me up into his big, strong arms, held me tight, and wouldn't let me go. That's why I was afraid to open the door right now.
And from there, she starred in the film that I know her for, The Crawling Hand. The Crawling Hand was on a double bill with The Slime People. You know, the producers knew how to promote this film with the tagline, "She revealed her body, but not her secret." That's a tagline that has absolutely nothing to do with the film. Although the director of the film, Herbert L. Strock, said in an interview with B-film historian Tom Weaver, "We had Miss Ireland, Sirry Steffen, in the lead. She wasn't much of an actress, but she was a doll to look at. We had a nude scene to do, which Sirry Steffen didn't want to do. She would only do it if I put body makeup on her. She trusted me implicitly because I'm a prude, I guess. We shot the scene, but it was never used." Now Herb, she was Miss Iceland, not Miss Ireland. But maybe at one time there was a plan to have her reveal her body. But she never had a secret in the film. You know, now that I think about it, I wonder if that nude scene's available somewhere online. Well, hey, never mind. Here's a strange article that says Sirry Steffen was tabbed the sex iceberg. What the hell is that? Who came up with that? You should be ashamed. It just sounds wrong. I also read that she spent some time in New York doing commercial work. But that was about it for her acting career. She did have an uncredited role as Party Girl in the 1964 film Bedtime Story, starring Marlon Brando and David Niven. But soon after The Crawling Hand, she moved back to Iceland. Maybe she realized her acting career wasn't happening, or maybe she just had enough with the US, or she could have been homesick. I think that she tried acting for a while and just decided it wasn't for her, so she went back home. She said of her time in Hollywood, "I rented an apartment in Hollywood and lived there after that, learning both singing and acting from good teachers. I starred in TV series, 3 movies, and did a bit of commercials at the same time. For example, I starred in Hitler with Richard Basehart, Bedtime Stories with David Niven and others, and then there was my biggest role, The Crawling Hand, which was a mix of science fiction and horror. It's still shown on Western television from time to time." In the 80s, she played in a film in Iceland called... And no, I'm not going to try to pronounce that either. She lived the rest of her life in Iceland, being married twice. She had one stepchild and 2 boys of her own. She continued to sing with various musical acts. In 1971, she started working for her father's business, the Transit Trading Company, but eventually returned to school to get her teaching degree. In 1981, she completed a bachelor's degree in English and a year later received her teaching license. She died on February 1st, 2020 at the age of 81. Her obituary says she worked on films in Hollywood during the years of 1960 to 1963 and then acted in 20 TV shows and 3 films. You know, IMDb only lists the 3 shows I talked about, so if there's more, I would like to know about them. IMDb is often wrong. And I wish I had more to tell you, but that's all I could find. Maybe some of you out there know something about Sirry Steffens. If so, I'd love to hear from you. Well, thanks for watching, and I'll be back soon with something. Bye.